it ever seem to you that South Africa is falling apart at every point, at every fiber?
Okay.
In every sector, in every industry, in every realm of society, that even the South African citizen isn't as good as he once was, isn't as productive as he once was, isn't as honest and as hardworking as he once was, that we have become a lawless, dysfunctional, a crazy place, and not in a good way. We used to be alive with opportunity. Now we are alive with every opportunity to do bad and to be bad and to show how bad this country has become. And it all comes down to leadership.
The ANC is launching a campaign in Bloemfontein in the Free State this weekend. The campaign seeks to renew the party's social contracts with those on the ground.
Has decided for, as part of the renewal process, as we renew the ANC.
It's not that South Africa has by mistake fallen apart or slid into some sort of dysfunctional, unrecognizable place. This has happened on purpose, and it's happened because of our leadership. It's happened because of who is running the country and how they're running the country. And the biggest thing is not that South Africa is run badly. The biggest thing is that there is no one running it. The person who's supposed to be running it, the president, his officials, and other high-level executives and politicians, are not doing a good job by neglect. It's not that some of them are incompetent and running the country badly, which they are. It's that it's also neglectful. They do not pay attention to their duties and they let things fall apart. Many of them on purpose, many of them because they're busy doing something else. They go in every single morning to steal, kill, and destroy. You know your country's badly run when you look around South Africa, because what do you see? You see very distinct signs, such as widespread corruption and the misuse of public funds. Funds intended for public service or development are taken, siphoned off for personal gain by those in power and their associates. This is often accompanied by a lack of transparency and accountability. It's never anyone's fault, so we'll just form a commission or a task team and investigate for the next 10 years. You know you live in a neglected country when you see the deterioration of public services. Everywhere you go, you see the lack of service delivery, rich or poor. This is highlighted actually when you do see some service happening. It sticks out to you. It's not something normal when you see someone fixing the roads, filling potholes, fixing electricity, or blocking up some burst pipe. That actually sticks out to you and you recognize it and you say, oh, someone's doing a good job over there. That's what they're supposed to be doing. As a matter of fact, some of these things should have never fallen apart. Essential services like healthcare, education, infrastructure, road, electricity, water, you name it. The public transport system as well become unreliable. They become underfunded on purpose so that they deteriorate by neglect, and they become of a very poor quality. Many things in South Africa today, after the ANC government took over, are of a poorer quality than they were under the fascist, racist apartheid regime towards black people. The schools, the sewage system, and the quality of water. This directly impacts citizens' daily lives, obviously. The South African government is neglectful. They've neglected their country, they've neglected their people, and you see it in the economic decline and stagnation. They don't care about how you make a living and how you gain money and how you live and feed your children. A lack of clear economic vision is obvious. They have inconsistent policies and an unfavorable business environment that has been spoken about for years, but no one does anything about it. You see the reduction in investment, high unemployment, inflation, and a general decline in living standards. This is the philosophy of neglect. This is the philosophy of bad leadership, of bad governance, of people who don't care about the citizens whether you lived or died.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
we don't care.
When you see the increase in poverty and inequality, And unfortunately for us in South Africa, our government has made poverty and inequality a sport, because now we're the most unequal country in the world. The gap between the rich and the poor widens significantly, and it's wider in this country than anywhere else in the world. And a large portion of the population struggles to meet basic needs due to economic mismanagement and a lack of opportunities. They start to raise the prices for petrol, for food, and most recently they've raised both petrol and electricity.
Johannesburg Power Utility City Power says that it will cushion poor, low-income households from paying increased service and availability charges as new tariffs kicked in this week. City Power customers are now paying an increase of 12.4% for electricity, and that, of course, in line with the city's approved tariffs for the 2025-2026 financial year. However, City Power says that the increases will vary per customer category based on usage and tariff structure.
This is madness. The people cannot sustain this sort of pressure, and the government is doing nothing about it and is not allowing the economy to grow. As a matter of fact, they're doubling down on BEE policy. A country that's being neglected has an erosion of the rule of law and the justice system. Laws are selectively applied, judicial processes are compromised, and there's a general sense that justice is not accessible or fair, leading to impunity for the powerful and a breakdown of the social order. If that doesn't describe South Africa in 2025, I don't know what does.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
You see political instability and social unrest, frequent movements in government. You see protests, demonstrations, as citizens have lost faith in the system and they're trying to express their dissatisfaction. This is because of the neglect. This is how countries deteriorate and fall apart. Add to that the brain drain and the human flight. Talented and skilled individuals, as well as a significant portion of the general population, start to look elsewhere for opportunities because opportunities in South Africa are stifled. And to tell you the truth, they're stifled for everyone. Everyone always talks about BEE, but ask someone living in a shack about their economic, educational, and social opportunities. What great opportunities has BEE given that person? He lives in a tin can. People are looking for security and they're looking for it elsewhere in another country. Of course, you're losing valuable human capital at this, and the ANC government is all right to let that go because they want to lead a country of poor, uneducated, vulnerable, demoralized people. Your neglectful leaders have a lack of vision and strategic planning. The leadership operates without any clear long-term plan, or at least any clear long-term plan that makes sense to the citizen, because right now it seems that their clear long-term plan is to demoralize and deteriorate South Africa. The country is not being developed. They're focusing on their own short-term gains of how to keep the ANC rich and in power, and they're reacting to crises rather than proactively governing a country. Every single day you'll hear them talk about someone must do something about the crime, someone must do something about gender-based violence, someone must do something about illegal mining. Who are they asking to do something about it? Governments that are serious about building a country are proactive. They plan for the long term and for the future development of their children and their population. The ANC government has no interest in your children or the population. They couldn't be bothered by that. They don't care at all. Poor communication and transparency is what defines this government of neglect. You have to give the ANC some credit. They do communicate a little bit better than some authoritarian governments do. But the thing about the ANC is everything they communicate is destructive. It seems like everything they communicate is meant for the destruction of the citizen.
Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has withdrawn his proposal to hire legally documented foreign nationals to boost the Joburg Metro Police's crime-fighting capacity. On the weekend, Morero said that the city might have to consider recruiting qualified and properly documented foreign nationals to assist with bridging the language barriers when foreign nationals are arrested. But the proposal was swiftly shot down by his own ANC and other parties in the Metro. At a briefing today, Morero tried to do damage control, it seems.
The Lekgotla resolved that we should instead train our officers to be proficient in foreign languages that are dominant in areas with the highest concentration of specific groups of foreign nationals.
When a government neglects a country and a country is falling apart, you see the increased external debt and financial dependency. They start borrowing, and South Africa's borrowing at a very high rate. You would never think South Africa would have to borrow anything if the country was being run well. There's an inability to manage the national economy and generate sufficient revenue, leading to heavy borrowing from international lenders, making the country vulnerable to the external influences of whoever's giving them that money. This is South Africa today, and this neglect has led to a decline in international standing and reputation.
Subscribe to the channel or you'll be forced to join the MK party and become their most vigorous and fierce member, like the Mama Joy of the MK.
So there you are, Christian, alone, unmarried, and getting on in years. Ladies, have you ever thought maybe you're the problem? Have you ever thought to yourself, perhaps there's something I don't understand, perhaps there's something I just am not getting, something I don't know? Because every single day, let me tell you, madam, you walk past many men, you interact with many men, and you live in a world full of them. But not one can take you as a wife. There you are, a Christian girl trying to get married, but no one is marrying you. The country loses credibility on the global stage, affecting diplomatic relations, foreign investment, and participation in international forums. Our status has been diminished by the neglect of the South African government. Our country is run terribly because of the neglect and the incompetence of our leadership. The state's inability to maintain law and order is unmatched. These people don't give a rip. You could die in the streets and they're happy for it. They're like, yes, put another one on the board. The increased crime rates, including organized crime of many types that has been spoken about for years, but they seem to never do anything about it, whether it's the poaching of perlemoen or abalone as it's called.
Barely 30 years ago, it was an emblem of South African marine life. Today, the abalone, or perlemoen, is an endangered species. In the fishing village of Houston, the disappearance of the sea creature is making itself felt. Once abundant, the mollusk has drawn the envy of poachers who have taken almost everything. Meanwhile, the fishermen have seen their activities drop drastically, forcing some to re-evaluate their options.
Whether it's the kidnapping rings that kidnapped little Jocelyn Smith.
On February 19, 2024, Jocelyn allegedly disappeared from her house near Cape Town. This triggered a frenzied search effort in the nearby area. Locals and government authorities combed through every nook and cranny, leaving no stone unturned. From dank sewers to muddy pits, the search extended to even accusing neighbors as desperation mounted. The police, firefighters, and even dog squads were deployed to look for the missing girl. Drones were used so that even an inch of land doesn't go unnoticed. A reward of $5,000 was announced for any sliver of information leading to Jocelyn's whereabouts. Nationwide protests echoed with one question: where is Jocelyn?
It never ends. It's always something in this country. There's a general feeling that the country is insecure. And can I tell you something? It's not a feeling, because everyone knows someone who's been a victim of crime, whether it's a hijacked car, someone breaking into your house. There's always something. It doesn't feel safe because it's not safe. We are being terrorized, and the government has gotten there by neglect. It's not a dysfunction by mistake. It's a dysfunction on purpose. And in every sector, whether it's crime, whether it's housing, whether it's job creation, the South African government fails to adapt to change, and they fail to innovate. The leadership resists necessary reforms. In other words, Cyril Ramaphosa, you are a coward. You do not like to take decisions because you have a yellow stripe down your back. You lout. This government is preventing the country from progressing and adapting to global challenges. They are holding us back, and they laugh in our faces, and they look at the poor people and they say, look at these slaves. When you have a neglected, badly run country with bad leaders, you start to see the factionalism and the divide among the so-called elites. Political leaders are more focused on internal power struggles and personal allegiances than on national unity and the progress of the country. And there's no one who is more obsessed with factions than the former president Jacob Zuma. This man lives for this stuff. What a useless life to live. And that's a man that ran this country into the ground for 9 years, and the factions have continued after him, and they're still continuing. And they will continue until the people of South Africa vote these people out. To maintain control, weak leadership often resorts to restrictions on freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and the press, and violating human rights. Now, the South African government actually doesn't do that. That's why you can even listen to this podcast right now. They're not going to charge into my house necessarily and try to get me to shut up. But the thing that the South African government does, far smarter than that, they take and violate your rights a little bit at a time in different ways, such as making it difficult to own a gun, trying to clamp down slowly on people who are in alternative media, not freeing up the digital spectrum. These are the clever ways that they clamp down. Instead of getting more free, they keep the freedom at a certain level. That's what part of the new land reform bill is about. This country is untidy, polluted, and dirty, whether it's the abortion posters, the litter on the ground, the sewage in the streets, and the general lack of waste management from the dumping and the lack of dustbins. There's no pride in it anymore. Cleanliness, neatness, and order don't seem to matter anymore, and they do it on purpose. This seeps into the mind of a person, and it demoralizes and makes them weak and makes for a weak population. Instead of working hard to increase social cohesion, what the ANC government, with their neglect, has actually encouraged tribalism, regionalism, ethnocism. Without unifying leadership, societal bonds begin to weaken, and people increasingly identify with their own narrow groups, ethnic, religious, regional, and otherwise, rather than having some sort of a national identity, leading to internal conflicts and divisions. And when the people are divided, the corrupt politician rules well, and he neglects the country and spends all his days stealing from the taxpayer, and no one is none the wiser because everyone's too busy fighting each other. There's been an erosion in the national infrastructure and maintenance backlog, obviously. Look around. Beyond just public services and the fundamental physical infrastructure of the country, roads, bridges, public buildings, power grids, water systems have been allowed to degrade due to a lack of investment and maintenance and the adequate new development. The South African government is neglecting these things because they do not matter to them. They do not matter to them because we don't matter to them. There's been a general disregard for expertise and meritocracy. Decisions are made based on patronage, loyalty, or personal connections, rather than on the advice of qualified experts or the merit of individuals. This, of course, leads to incompetent governance and failed policies. The failed policies of the ANC become the dysfunctional, crazy, out of control, lawless, ugly, filthy, destroyed banana republic that South Africa has turned into under their neglectful leadership.
Okay, so let's do a little exercise, you and I, right? Mm-hmm. I hand over your phone number because I've got her number to an international investor. They contact you. They say, I am Mr. Big Shot from some country and I want to open a multi-billion-dollar factory in South Africa. I'm going to buy this land, which I've earmarked. I'm going to build a big factory, right? I'm going to employ thousands of people. But I need to know that nobody, not just you, but nobody could at some stage say, in the public interest, we might just want your big factory and your intellectual property. Can you guarantee me that you can't have it? Then he says, I'm going to bring in a lot of specialists, but I see that there's an employment equity tick box exercise, right, where I am being told who to hire, right? And I run companies all over the world, and nowhere am I told who I must hire. Should I invest in your country or shouldn't I? How would you answer that particular investor?
That you can go and invest in India or elsewhere.
So go somewhere else.
Yes.
And when all is said and done, there's a loss of public trust and apathy. That's why people don't go out to vote. And what they don't realize is the 10 million people that didn't vote, if only 1 million of those people showed up, you could have a very different country. If 5 million showed up, you could have a very different country right now. when they could very easily do something about it, and all it would require of them is to get up one morning every 4 years and vote. Too many people have learned to be helpless. They have taken a country that is badly run, with no leadership, with a yellow stripe down his back, coward of a president, and they've accepted that as their fate. They've said, this is destiny, this is how it happens, at least he's not white. Don't be a fool. A black president who treats you like this hates you even more than Verwoerd ever could have. It's not about color and racism, actually. The biggest problem, and what South Africans actually want fixed according to surveys and statistics, is that South Africans want jobs. They want opportunity. They want a safe country that's functioning, working, and thriving. They want the land of opportunity. They want the land that's alive with opportunity back. The reason this country is the way it is now is because it's run terribly. It's neglected. In the same week,
we come back with a message of hope. It's a message of hope that South Africa can be turned into the winning country it can be.
You can have a delegation of the Freedom Front Plus going to America about South Africa because the South African government is not really speaking to the Americans. You can have a list of crimes against women, children, and men, but no one cares about the men. Hijack buildings. You can have people stealing a transformer. You have electricity and petrol going up. You have the South African Police Service advertising positions for 5,000 jobs, and you have 180,000 people applying.
The South African Police Service says it's received more than 180,000 applications for just 5,500 training positions. So in the first 24 hours since the application portal opened, the SAPS says it got about 67,000 applications from across the country.
I wonder how Cyril Ramaphosa and his officials sleep when they see things like that. Children kidnapped, 180,000 people applying for 5,000 jobs. Sadly, I think they sleep fine. I don't think they give a rip if you live in a tin can or in a hole in the ground. This is what they want. This is what they've created. Country full of widespread corruption and the misuse of public funds. A country whose public services have deteriorated, where the economy is in decline and has stagnated, where poverty increases and South Africa has become the most unequal country in the world, where the erosion of the rule of law and the justice system is quite obvious, too obvious, where there's constant political instability and social unrest, where a lot of people can't wait to get out of here, and even some of those who don't want to leave are leaving, and there's a brain drain and human flight, with crime statistics that would not be out of place in a war zone, and the government has a severe lack of vision and strategic planning, where the communication and the transparency is poor. This is what the ANC loves. This is what they've created.
You're a demon.
Now they have increased external debt and financial dependency. There's a decline in our international standing. Insecurity and crime are only rising, and they cannot change or adapt or innovate. Factionalism is the only thing they care about, and they very cleverly suppressing your human rights, especially using these foreign-funded NGOs. There's a neglect of how this place looks and keeping it neat, orderly, and clean because they want to demoralize you. There's a decline in social cohesion and an increase in tribalism and regionalism on purpose. The national infrastructure is only breaking down, and there's a backlog in maintenance. This is the country they've created because they've disregarded expertise and meritocracy, and at every turn, the public is getting demoralized and is becoming empathetic and is losing hope. Too many people have learned to be helpless. Don't let your country fall apart. This is nothing uncommon. Let not your heart be troubled. This can be turned around because everything can be turned around. History is a series of upturns, downturns, and shifting allegiances and shifting scenarios. Things can change in South Africa, and we must make sure that they do. That what our forefathers, and when I say this, I mean all our forefathers, what our forefathers, all they wanted was freedom. Whether it was the black, whether it was the white, whether it was the colored or the Indian, everybody came here and was trying to find a way to be free. Now we ended up, as humans always end up, clashing, fighting, and oppressing each other, some more than others. We are still pushing forward in this country to that. It is still what we want to achieve, freedom. And to get that freedom, you must be living in a high-functioning country. not a country that is neglected and run by cowards. You need a good political ideology and philosophy. You need good strategic planning. You need meritocracy. You need people who are willing to clean up the streets, fill in the potholes, switch on the lights, and make sure no one steals from you and gets away with it. You need a country of conservatives with a conservative ethos that wants people working hard and free. For that, you need a conservative government led by millennials in 2029. So there you are, Christian, alone, unmarried, and getting on in years. Ladies, have you ever thought maybe you're the problem? Have you ever thought to yourself, perhaps there's something I don't understand. Perhaps there's something I just am not getting, something I don't know. Because every single day, let me tell you, madam, you walk past many men, you interact with many men, and you live in a world full of them. But not one can take you as a wife. There you are, a Christian girl trying to get married, but no one is marrying you.